911, what's your emergency? I called a little bit ago, the deputy sheriff. I found out my granddaughter has been taken. She has been missing for a month.
I could smell the blood, I could smell the gunpowder, it was just a really, really horrible feeling.
What happens when the person meant to nurture becomes the cause of nightmares?
She threw them over her, pulled back, and strangled her with those pajama pants.
Today, we're diving into 4 of the most shocking stories of mothers who committed unthinkable acts. 1. The infamous case of Casey Anthony. Back in 2008, her 3-year-old daughter, Kaylee Anthony, went missing.
The search for missing Kaylee Anthony may be coming to a very sad end.
But it wasn't the child's disappearance alone that grabbed headlines. It was Casey's strange behavior that truly baffled investigators. While her daughter was missing, Casey partied, got a tattoo, and even went shopping. For 31 days, she failed to report Kaylee's disappearance.
911, what's your emergency? I called a little bit ago, the deputy sheriff. I found out my granddaughter has been taken. She has been missing for a month.
And when confronted, she lied. She spun a web of deception, falsely claiming that a nanny had kidnapped Kaylee.
You're telling me that Zenaida took your child without your permission and hasn't returned her?
The last person that I've seen with my daughter, yes.
Tragically, the body of little Kaylee was found months later, abandoned in a wooded area not far from Casey's home.
There have been significant skeletal remains located late this afternoon.
The trial that followed became one of the most talked about legal spectacles of the decade. Despite mountains of circumstantial evidence, Casey Anthony was found not guilty of murder, a verdict that sparked public outrage.
As to the charge of first-degree murder, we, the jury, find the defendant not guilty, so say we all, dated at Orlando.
How could a mother with all that suspicious behavior be acquitted of such a heinous crime? 2. Diane Downs and her chilling attack. In 1983, Diane drove her 3 young children down a quiet road in Oregon, pulled out a gun, and shot each one. She then drove them to the hospital, claiming a stranger had attacked them in a carjacking.
And so he jumped into the car, leaned into the car, and started firing the weapon.
But as police investigated, her story began to unravel. One of her children died from the gunshot wounds, while the other 2 survived but were severely injured. But what makes Diane's case so chilling is her motive. She wanted to be free of her children to pursue a relationship with a man who didn't want to be tied down by kids. Her children stood in the way of the life she wanted, so she tried to erase them from her life entirely. In court, her cold and detached demeanor shocked the jury. Despite her best efforts to lie her way out of it, the evidence against her was overwhelming. Diane Downs was sentenced to life in prison, a place where she remains to this day. 3. The disturbing case of Cindy Rodriguez Singh. In 2023, Cindy Rodriguez Singh made headlines for all the wrong reasons.
There is now a $25,000 reward being offered for any information that leads to the arrest of Cindy Rodriguez Singh.
Her 6-year-old son, Noel Alvarez, vanished from their home in Everman, Texas. But it wasn't just Noel's disappearance that shocked the public. It was Cindy's shocking behavior. Instead of cooperating with authorities, Cindy lied repeatedly. She claimed Noel was with his father in Mexico, or, bizarrely, that she had sold him in a parking lot.
Cindy told family members different stories about the whereabouts of Noel, including that she sold him to a lady in a Fiesta Mart parking lot.
Investigators quickly grew suspicious, especially after discovering that Cindy, her husband, and their other children had fled to India shortly after the investigation began. Human remains detection dogs even alerted police to the newly built patio at Cindy's house, hinting that something much darker had occurred. Today, Cindy remains on the run, with the FBI offering a $25,000 reward for her capture.
Today, the FBI is announcing a reward for up to $25,000 for information leading to the arrest and conviction of Cindy Rodriguez Singh.
Meanwhile, Noel's whereabouts remain unknown, and the horrifying question lingers. What really happened to him? 4. Kelsey Thomas and the tragic death of Chloe Chandler. In 2018, 5-year-old Chloe Chandler was found dead in her Iowa home, and her mother, Kelsey Thomas, was accused of her murder. What initially appeared as an accidental death quickly turned into a chilling tale. Prosecutors allege that Kelsey, frustrated with her life, strangled Chloe with pajama pants in a fit of rage.
She threw them over her, pulled back, and strangled her with those pajama pants.
Kelsey's changing stories and eventual confession only deepened the mystery. But Kelsey's defense claims she was coerced into admitting to something she didn't do, insisting Chloe's death was a tragic accident.
Accidentally hung herself, she wouldn't also take that same action. There's no way to distinguish between those two things.
After 2 trials, Kelsey was convicted of involuntary manslaughter and sentenced to 5 years in prison. If this story got too dark for you, then click here to watch how thieves got caught red-handed, and I'll see you there having a laugh.